program is intended for mature audiences.
Welcome to Trainwreck Podcast. Dude, listen. I'm going to talk about some things that are going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. So, just get ready.
And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
I don't know why. I'm trying to make myself feel better. Listen, dude. I just got the call last night. Grandfather passed away. 90-something years old. Amazing. Don't get me wrong. I was expecting it, but not expecting it. I mean, how you can prepare yourself, but how well can you really prepare yourself? You know what I mean? It's just something that I think that's going to happen, and no matter... I'm trying to think of something that you can relate this to. I don't know. Yeah, I think it might be like, no matter how many times you walk past that dresser or that nightstand in your bedroom, no matter how many times you do it, at least twice a year, you're gonna catch your fucking foot on it and think to yourself,
"You stupid fucking cunt."
Why, you knew it was there. Why would you do that? And no matter how many times you do it, it doesn't hurt any less. Right? I guess it's kind of like the same thing. Is it though? Ugh. Gross. I am sorry. I'm off today. Obviously I'm off today. I'm not on my A game right now. Where'd that even come from? Anyway, A game. I'm not on my A game. Fuck you. And your letters. How about that? Now you're just mad for nothing. Don't be ignorant.
Now, when you yell at me, it makes me nervous. And when I get nervous, I get scared. And when motherfuckers get scared, that's when motherfuckers accidentally get shot.
I'm not shooting anybody, so you don't have to worry about it. Not yet, anyway. Although I had to say 2 hours ago, some guy tried to shoot me on YouTube. Which, fuck that guy. The only reason why I say fuck that guy is because, just give me the day off, please. I don't wanna read anything shitty today. That would have been the perfect outlet for me to completely destroy him. But I let the anger go last night. What do I mean by that? Well, here's what it is. Last week I told you about my grandmother, right? And how nobody told me what was going on. So, my mom knows all about this. And what does this bitch do? And I'm gonna call her a bitch. Get uncomfortable. I don't give a fuck, bro. It's my goddamn mom. If I wanna say that she's blowing dick on the corner for candy bars, that's my business. That's my business. But I tell her about this. She's like, "Oh man, that's so fucked up. People need to, why don't people call you? That's really like now you don't even probably feel like family and sounds like the fucking teacher from Charlie Brown after a while.
Holy Jesus!
It's rough to deal with. It really is rough to deal with. So, knowing all this, that this just happened not that long ago. Literally a stone's throw of time ago, this happened. And what does she do? What does she fucking do? This fucking asshole.
I don't care whose nephew you are, who you know, whose dick you're sucking on, you're going out.
She calls me last night and she starts the conversation. Here's how she starts it out. I pick up the phone. Hello. Hi. How's it going? Oh, it's alright. Shit's happening. This and this is going on. Why? What's up? Have you talked to your aunt lately? No, why? What's going on with her? Is everything going okay? Now, to give you some context, my aunt has had breast cancer in the past. One of the only people in my family to get it and survive, which is just insanity. I couldn't believe it. Still can't believe it. But as I know, I haven't talked to her. What's going on? Nothing. I just wanted to know if you had talked to her. Oh, okay. Because for a second I thought you were going to say something bad happened. So it's good that nothing happened. Silence. And then, oh, by the way, your grandfather passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
What? What?
You were saying something about best intentions?
I mean, no. There's no best intention there at all. She literally said nothing's wrong, and then a few seconds later said, by the way, the guy that you know your whole life is fucking dead, bro. He's fucking dead.
Yes!
He is. I go, Listen.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
I know I'm stuttering. I understand that this is her father. This is my grandfather. So of course she's gonna feel a certain way about it. But I couldn't help myself, dude. I literally took the phone away from my face and I looked at it for a second. Because I could not fucking believe that this has just happened to me twice. Because she goes, oh, it happened a few days ago. And your aunt kept on calling me and asking me, did you tell him yet? You should tell him. He's going to be mad when he finds out that you knew and didn't say anything. She's like, I just couldn't bring myself to get on the phone and make the call. I just couldn't do it. Have somebody else do it. Anybody else. Knock on the neighbor's fucking door and say, can you do me a favor, please? Can you call the thing that fell out of my twat 33 years ago and let them know that a family member is fucking dead?
Correctamundo.
Can you do that? Is it possible? Whoa. That's where the anger comes back in. But, it's alright. Not much you can do about that. You can't. You can't get mad about it. You just have to move on and let things be what they're gonna be. So, alright, fine. You didn't tell me what was going on. I just did. I yelled at her though, like, bro, you, and I called her. For those of you wondering, this is not a gimmick. This is how I talk.
Do you understand?
I called her bro. I said, bro, you and my father both. And if you're listening to this, check this out, dude. This is for you, and I mean it. Both of you need fucking therapy. Both of you need therapy and should go see a fucking doctor stat, bro. Quickly. Holy shit. It's not normal to do the things that you guys are doing. I mean, you don't even talk and you're the same person. You're the same fucking person.
Fucking bullshit!
You know, how hard is it? Have somebody pick up the goddamn phone. But anyway, you know, the point is that the guy, they found lung cancer. I don't know what that means. I don't know how long that's happened for. How long it's been there. If he's had it for years and just never got treatment because he's a fucking gangster. I don't know.
I can't call it.
Which, speaking of gangsters, that reminds me. When I was a kid, matter of fact, before I even go there, I wanted to be. I felt really fucked up about this. I know, it's a shocker, right? Jesus Christ, did you? Really? Somebody died.
Hello, motherfucker.
That's a normal to feel it to have, you stupid asshole. What would you think you were supposed to feel? Happy, joy? What the fuck? No, but, you know, I can't allow myself to cry for this man. Because I know in the back of my head, if he saw that, like if he was alive and he saw that, he would look at me.
You can act like a man! What's the matter with you?
Because this guy didn't fuck around. We're at my uncle's funeral, a young kid. I'm crying because I'm a kid at a fucking funeral, and somebody that I care about is, hold on, who's that? Hello, this is reality. Somebody's fucking dead. Can you let that kid cry a little bit? Nope.
Fuck you.
Not happening. Not happening. He looks over at me. A bit of a scowl on his face. Grabs me by the shoulder and he says, "Men don't cry in this family. Wipe your tears away. You gotta be strong now." Tell him again. Because apparently crying is a woman's trait. And I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know how I think as an outsider looking in that guy may have thought. And keep in mind, I'm talking about people, my grandmother and my grandfather, the ones both on my mom's side. My grandmother from my father's side is the one that passed away a few months back. But, where was I going? Oh yeah, they're very old school. Like off of the boat, a couple of generations removed from the World War to get a green card, old school, dude. So you gotta understand, it wasn't the same world for them as it is for us. Does that make it right? No, of course it doesn't. But,
Look, I ain't threatening you or nothing, all right? You know I respect you and all. But just don't put me in this position, all right?
Just don't do it. Look, just don't take everything I say seriously, except for the part about grief and death and using something like this podcast to help you. I mean, dude, so many things had happened. I was listening to the Church of What's Happening Now, and Joey Diaz happened to bring this up. It was the podcast was like an hour and a half long, and he just brought up. I don't even remember how the subject came up, but it wasn't in the initial conversation. And then he just brought up people passing away and grieving and shit like that, and talking about Ralphie May, who is his friend. Really, really funny stand-up comedian, dude. Hilarious guy. Loved him. Still do. His specials still fucking... They're the best. Ralphie is the best. And I say is, not was, because I believe as long as you have the memory of somebody, they'll always be around. No amount of time it changes something like that. You know, as sad as that is to say, I think it's true. But, you know, he brought up how people were saying how the podcast got them through people dying and shit, and it immediately made me think about my grandmother. And keep in mind, Terminator timeline is February 18th. I just got the phone call that he passed away on February 17th, and I just listened to this podcast probably, what's today? Today's Monday. I probably listened to this podcast on last Saturday. So probably like the 15th or the 16th. Made me think about my grandmother that died, and I was like, oh man, that sucks. And I teared up a little bit, and then I was sitting there thinking, like, no, but you know what? This is an amazing thing that this podcast is doing. Because, like, I'm sad, but at the same time, I'm not as sad because I hear somebody talking about something that makes sense. Like, he's saying things that I understand. The way that he feels and how does this process happen. I get it. I 100% get it. Like, he made a good point. He talked about how somebody passes away. I know everybody grieves differently, but when he said this, it really resonated with me because it does the same thing, but it doesn't hit right away. Like, you have that initial sting sometimes, not all the time for me, but he's like, you got that initial sting, and then what happens is you find ways to make yourself stay busy. And you're always doing something and keeping your mind on something and keeping people around and basically doing shit like that. He goes, but eventually you gotta go home by yourself and you have to face it because the demons are gonna come at night. Like, in other words, right when you go to lay down to go to sleep. And it's what happened to me yesterday. I spent 3 hours on a live stream yesterday talking to some of the people that are on the YouTube. And, you know, I'm happy that I did because they actually made me feel better in the moment when I really needed to make sure that I had my feet on solid ground. You know what I mean? But yeah, they come at night. That's when the thoughts start rolling in. You know, I think I don't know about you, but it seems like the guilt is the first thing that comes for me. is definitely the first thing that comes for me. Like, I'm in bed last night, and I'm crying only out of one eye. The tears are literally coming down out of my one eyeball because, like, the guy's gonna jump out of the closet and yell at me for fucking being upset that he fucking died. Like, it's okay to feel things. I mean, shit sticks with you, bro. It does. It really does. So, if you're raising kids right now and you kind of wonder, does something like that really stick? For me, it does. Maybe I'm not a strong person. I don't know. I would like to think that I like to think I'm a strong person. But getting back to what I was originally talking about, the guilt comes first. I should have went and seen him more times. But the thing is, I have reasons why I didn't go. I can't. How am I going to get there? The guy lives 2 hours away from me up north. I can't just hop on a transit bus to go up the parkway for 2 hours, walk to his house unannounced, and just, you know what I mean? It's not going to work. So I feel bad about that. And that part really stuck out to me because I haven't seen him in a long time. And then it got me to thinking, so, is this the new thing that is happening? And this made me feel worse. But, like, is this the new thing that's gonna happen now? I guess I'm not important enough to get the phone call right away. Like, she literally waited days until, her words, not mine, days until after it happened. Aww. Yeah, what are you gonna do, though? Days until after it happened and tells me that. Like, I need to know. She could have lied. She could have made it up. A timeline. But, waits and says, well, I just couldn't bring myself to call on the phone. And I don't know, I might have made this joke already well, I'm not gonna do it now, because I don't know what I kept and when I didn't. I've stopped and started this thing like 5 times already, because I'm arguing with myself on whether or not a topic like this should even be brought up, but there's nobody here to stop me, so I'm doing it. I guess you could consider it like a therapy. I start to think now, oh, maybe I'm not good enough to get that phone call, huh? It's gotta be me. There's gotta be something wrong with me. And of course, that's the first place that my brain is gonna go to. Why wouldn't it? Because it's easy for me to beat myself up. It doesn't have to be my fault. I can make it my fault somehow. Because I should feel bad for it. Or I should punish myself. Maybe that's what it is. Because I didn't see the guy enough, because I'm not in a life situation to be able to do that. Maybe I need to torture myself a little bit. Like, it's fucked up if you think about it. It really is. Then as I sit here and that comes out of my mouth, she said when she called me, like, oh, I couldn't bring myself to talk on the phone and talk about it because I was very upset. Do you hear the way that I just said that right now? That's how she said it to me on the phone. Not upset. Nothing. Just like she sounded more angry than anything that she had to relay this information to me. Which also makes me think, maybe is it resentment that she feels like, well, it's my father, so, it's more important to me. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to pause this here, and I'll pick it back up in a second. I can edit it together. I could throw it all together. I'm going to take a minute and walk away from this for a second. Get a cigarette. Give myself a second to think. So, for you it'll be a second. For me it'll probably be 20 minutes, but I'll be right back.
Just hang in there, baby. You're doing great. I'm proud of you.
We're back again. So I went down, had a cigarette, fucking back again. And, this whole thing just tends to put things into perspective, I think. Maybe not for everybody. But, I mentioned this yesterday. I think it's so strange how the separation has happened even from people that aren't on social media anymore. Or never were, rather. That's what I should say. Like, what is the... I don't understand.
What's the matter?
I don't understand what the problem is. I mean, while I was downstairs, I was really thinking about it. And, could it be that, maybe some people just don't know what to do? Could that be what it is?
Could you at least try maybe to consider another profession?
Well, not a profession, but what are you gonna do? They can't all be winners, right? So, I mean, just be honest with me.
Don't bullshit me, I don't like it.
Yeah, you don't need to just say, look, I didn't want to call you because, what does it matter? And that's it. That's it. That's all you have to do. The guy don't want a service, which I should probably bring this up. No funeral, no viewing, no nothing. Just straight into the box and cremated, which is what he originally did not want that. He originally didn't want that. He wanted to be, the whole nine, funeral and everything else, so that, I guess that's because the normal thing that people do. But he changed his mind. I think it had a lot to do with money, or maybe it's because it's a fucking ordeal now to be involved in a funeral and do all that kind of shit. And I find as I'm getting older, it's much harder. It's much harder to go through that shit. It's definitely not a fun thing to do, of course not. But at the same time, I mean, is this better? You want to be able to remember people at the good times in their life, not the bad ones. So I can understand that. But this whole thing, it really just makes me think. And I'm like I mentioned earlier, I beat myself up a little bit, but I don't think that I really should. And like, if you're going through a loss right now, I understand. I know what you're going through. I mean, anybody can say that, because pretty much everybody alive has lost somebody. But there's a difference between a normal person losing somebody and somebody in my position losing somebody, which is basically, the depression and the mental illness. end of things, losing somebody, because I tend to hold on to shit, dude. But this is a little bit different. It's a little bit different. I mean, the distance between everybody it's crazy. Like, there's no, if the last couple of months of my life has taught me anything, it's that I'm not that close to that many people. And even the people that I am close to, somewhat, I can't pick up the phone and call them in times like this. I mean, sure, they'll say that I can, but the reality is I don't feel comfortable doing that. And what are they really gonna say? Yeah, sorry, man. You know, that sucks that happened, and appreciate you dumping this on me. Now we're both uncomfortable, and I don't know what to say to you. Why bother? Just bottle it up. So maybe that was a good thing. They did when I was younger, kind of helped to teach me to hold a lot of shit in, let it go in my own time, not to rely on other people. Which again, that could be the depression talking, but I really don't, I don't think so. I don't feel that way. And I know I'm in my own head, so, you know, maybe I'm overthinking, but I would imagine that the average person has those people that he can call, or she can call. Like, you have a best friend, or a friend, a family member, someone you can really talk to, and everybody around me just seems to kind of avoid things. Like, everybody else is carrying on like it's a regular day, and I'm over here all fucked up. I'm really happy that I pre-recorded a bunch of videos for YouTube, because I'm not in the mind state to be doing any of that shit. I wouldn't be funny at all. It would just be a drag. But is it a tough realization to go through that and realize that you don't really have anybody? I mean, I think it's a healthy thing to know, but it's not good to figure out in your moment of need. And I'm not blaming anybody. For that. The fact that we've been conditioned now to not have connections with one another. It's crazy. To think that, like, I can load up the computer and I talk it to a bunch of people that are on the other side of the world, and to have that versus having nobody was a really positive thing. I got pulled out of it last night, but I don't know how long this is gonna go on for, because this grieving is not like when my grandmother passed, I was immediately making jokes and trying to make light of the situation, but it's extremely hard, I feel like, for me to do that now. And I don't know what the difference is. Maybe because I would never really felt like I was close to her. I mean, sure, I talked to her, and, you know, I messaged her on Facebook a bunch of times. I mean, on her wall. I put it up on her Facebook wall, always asking her how is she doing and stuff like that. And that's it. But me and my grandfather have been spaced out for a long time, and there was a big section of my life where I was angry at him for not necessarily splitting up with my grandmother, but, you know, that's the person that raised me. Obviously, she was not shy about anything, so when she had these types of things on her mind, she would just say, like, this is the type of lady that she was. She actually told me when I was a kid, you know, she feels bad for me, that my mom should have gotten an abortion because of the fact that once she dies, I'll pretty much be left to defend for myself. It's a real honest thing to say. I don't know if it's the greatest thing in the world to say to a child, but I can remember holding on to that. Like, when she passed, it fucking killed me. Even though we had a love-hate kind of relationship. You know, she raised me up. This guy, always at a distance. You know, everybody was emotionally shut down, and maybe they weren't. Maybe I just felt that way because we never really talked. But I'm not. This not being close to anybody is kind of tough. I mean, being the black sheep of the family, everybody knows it. Nobody wants to acknowledge it. And then going through things like this. Again, the fact that I can't call anybody. I mean, I'm sure that I could, but I would just get a voicemail, and I can't bring myself to drop some shit like that on somebody. I mean, I put it up on a Facebook thing just to get it out of my head, and people see. Everybody is on their social media every second of the fucking day, pretty much. So, you know, if phone calls are gonna be made, I would imagine they would have been made already. Which again, it's fine. I don't take any of this shit personally. I just sometimes wish that the ability to speak to somebody honestly was really there. And it's not. But that's alright. I mean, you learn to power through it and just carry on, acting like nothing is going on. But this is affected a big part of my life, so I felt like I should address it here. And, you know, I kind of felt bad. When I was walking to the store, I was thinking to myself, like, you know, why are you doing this right now? Do you really want to drag everybody down that's going to listen to the podcast? Why do you want to do that to them and fuck up somebody's day for? You know, it's kind of selfish of you to do that. But if I don't talk about it here, if I feel like I can't talk about it here, then where am I supposed to talk about it? That's what this platform is for. In some ways, I think, to be able to talk about shit that you can't bring up anywhere else. Like, I can't load up a YouTube video and go on the route of exploring thoughts that I'm having and analyzing what I'm thinking and post that. Nobody wants to. That's not what they're going to YouTube for. They're going to YouTube for other shit. Whether it's right or wrong of me to do, I'm going to post this anyway. Because I feel like, I mean, dude, here's the crazy thing. Not last night, the night before. It's like 4 a.m, and Only Fear of Death by Tupac pops into my head for no reason. Haven't thought about that song in a long time, but it pops in. And then I wake up on the 16th, and Mike Righteous Pathways is in my head. I literally shared it to Facebook the morning I got the news, because I didn't get it until like 7 o'clock last night. But I shared it, and I literally wrote, for anybody that might need this song right now, I'm going to post that out there. And who would have thought that I would later that day would find myself in a situation where I wasn't feeling suicidal or anything, but just a lot of the subject matter that goes along with that, the worthless feeling, the closed out feeling and all that shit. I was feeling those types of things. But it just shows you how crazy life is. That you can, one minute everything could be fine, and the next minute your whole world can come to a screeching halt. And I know I just said it earlier, but everybody else carries on like it's normal, like a regular day, which for them it is. For them it is a regular day. And there's no reason why they should not continue to act normally. But I mean, I can't do that. I don't think I should do that. How would you even? And how long do you give yourself? Because I know people are very quick to be like, alright dude, enough, move on already. Like, I can't, not that, and I wouldn't, but I couldn't come back here next week and bring this up again. Like, you have a one shot rule, which is fine. I understand that people don't want to get bummed out. They put on podcasts and shit to get away from the everyday struggle that is their life. So the last thing that they want to do is hear about something that's going to make them feel shitty. But at the same time, I mean, I kind of wonder what other people do. I wonder what famous people do. Have you ever thought about that? Like really famous actors or comedians, when something like this happens in their life, I wonder how they respond to it. Do they shut everything down? No podcasts, no movies, no nothing. I mean, I know there's the flip side to that, which is bury yourself in work, which is what I did when, the thing happened a couple of months ago. Not even a couple months ago. Well, whenever it was, I don't know. Can't think straight at the moment. I buried myself in YouTube videos just to give myself something to do to stop the thing that I mentioned earlier, which is the thought process. Because the demons are there and they're just waiting. They're just waiting to open the floodgates to have all that shit come rushing back and remind you that this is all happening, and you do need to deal with it. It's healthy to deal with it. I'm not, by no means, I mean, I brought up earlier that holding everything in is just what you did, or what I was raised to do, and I'm an anomaly among my friends. Nobody else was raised that way, to do that. You know what? I just thought about this. Well, on one hand, it's easy to say, I don't want to bum people out with shit like this. On the other hand, I got into this a while ago. It was in one of the earlier episodes of the podcast. I'm not one of those people, and I never was, big on pretending everything is good all of the time. And what I mean by that is, like, take social media, for example. The people that post pictures and just act like life is great 100% of the time and nothing bad ever happens. I can't do that. I understand, when it comes to social media, you are your own PR representative in a lot of ways. In a venue like this, YouTube, wherever, it's people don't know you. Like, you don't know, you only know what I show you about me, right? Like, you can have, it's the same way that, like, I just watched the Ted Bundy tapes the other day on Netflix. Don't waste your fucking time. I got to the third one about halfway in and I tapped out. It's just a long, drawn out thing, bigger than it needs to be. The guy was a fuckhead for doing what he did. End of story. We don't need a life story on this fucking guy. He's a knob, a fucking stone cold jerk off. But you only know what I tell you, right? And why I brought up Ted Bundy is because you can have a neighbor or you can have a friend that you think that you know, and then lo and behold, you come to find out later, dude is a serial killer. Because you don't know anything about that person really. You don't know anything about them really. Who they are, what they think, how they act. You only see what people want you to see. And I think that's true for everybody, right? Like, that's normal. I think it's important, at least for me, in the spirit of transparency and full disclosure, that I'm able to put my thoughts down on here to give you a better insight of who I am as a person and what all goes on in my head when shit like this happens. Because I was just talking about it. What do the big stars do, or the big comedians, when something like this happens to them? Do they shut everything down, or do they bury themselves in work? Do they go for a sad role when they're fucked up from something like this happening? Do you think? And I kind of wonder if it's got to be so much harder for people that are big. I mean, it's hard for a regular person, but to not be able to walk out of your house without somebody knowing who you are must be terrible. Terrible fucking thing to have to deal with, especially if you're going through something like this where all you want to do is just sometimes be able. I know a lot of us, we spend our whole lives trying to find a way to stand out in the crowd, but there are going to be occasions where sometimes you just want to blend in for a little while and not stick out for everybody to see, right? I would imagine. But that's why I'm doing this right now. Because if I don't put it out there, nobody's ever going to know how I think about these types of things. And sure, I mean, if you take a 4 to 10 minute YouTube video, I say a lot of dumb shit and I crack jokes, make it all funny. But there's a bigger show that is happening behind the scenes that you guys don't see when the recording stops. And don't get me wrong, there needs to be a separation between social media and regular life. However, at the same time, it's easy to forget. Somebody just dropped a comment on YouTube the other day talking about one of the rappers that they like, this guy Chester P, who's the underground legend in the UK, apparently. Very good at what he does, I should add. I listen to his tapes all the time, and I happened to run into him at a friend's birthday party, and I couldn't believe it. And I sat there and I thought about it for a second, and I was like, yeah, but dude, he's just a regular guy. It's so easy to forget that people are just regular people. I don't think that it's ever going to come to a place where my following is ridiculously large. And again, I don't think it has to. But even for the people that like my shit now, like the fact that so many people, and not even only the shitty ones, but the people that leave really nice comments and actually want to have somewhat of a conversation. When I will comment back to them, 90% of them are like, oh, thanks for the reply, man, or reading what I had to say, or having this conversation with me. And I'm just like you. I'm a regular dude that just is behind. The only difference between me and you is that when that recording light flips on, I'm just who I am in front of the camera, and I post it for you to be able to see it. But I think that's what that people enjoy, that, right? That might be the actual first time that I actually smiled without having to hit a fucking button. Of course, when I needed you there, you weren't there. Big fucking surprise. Good for me. We did it. But, now I forgot where I was at. Hold on. I'll get there. I'll get it back. I have the lure in the water. I'm just waiting for the thought to bite. You know what I mean? Shit. I think I might have lost it completely. Right now you're probably screaming at your phone, this is what it was. Or you're keep an eye on the clock and see how long it takes me to try to pull it together. But I think I was talking about, just being a regular person, right? So, writing back in the comments and shit, people are appreciative of that. And I'm not trying to downplay that, because I'm the same way. I mean, part of the reason why I started this channel was because I would leave comments and shit on people's videos, and it's almost like they don't care. Like, dude, I take a decent amount of time to make sure that I read even the bad ones, every comment. And I get back to the people who are trying to have a conversation or just want to leave a comment in general. And I've even managed to flip a couple of people to go from hating me to supposedly enjoying the content. But what they don't understand is, dude, if you don't like what I'm saying, there's a good chance that it has nothing to do with the band or the thought. I think you're concentrating on that, but the reality is that you don't like who I am as a person, and we would not hang out outside of this venue. We wouldn't ever cross paths, and if we did, it wouldn't be for a long period of time. And that's alright. You know, not everybody is supposed to be your best friend. You're not gonna win everybody over. And people will probably give me shit for doing this, but I mean, really, dude, nobody really talks about this too much. I mean, I know I mentioned Coco bringing it up, but outside of that, there's not really too many people that talk about day-to-day shit. It's almost like we all want to forget how simple life is and make it a lot more complicated than it really is. And it's a wonderful journey to go through. Even this right now, what is happening, is a good thing to go through because it builds character. While you may feel like you're being torn apart, I think a big part of that is really because you're adding on to who you are as a person the hard way. You know, when you're trying to build muscle, you have to tear some of the old shit apart to replace it with stronger new shit, right? So that's kind of like, I think, what grief does.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Is rebuilding you as a person. It's alright to feel. Am I trying to convince you or convince myself? I'm not sure. But I like that there are people out there that can appreciate my honesty. Because I think the best thing that I can do for you, like if you're friends with me, even if we just have a brief interaction in the comment section of a video, or on the Instagram or Twitter, wherever, I'm gonna tell you shit exactly the way that I see it. Sometimes people don't ask me for my opinion, but I give it to them anyway, but I give it to them when they need it, and I don't do it to be a dick. But it's just because sometimes I feel like it's easy to lose perspective on things, and every once in a while you need to check. Even me. Even I do. My people help me. They check me when I get out of hand. And they remind me, like, dude, pull yourself together, bro. It's not that deep. It's not even that deep. Which I appreciate that. But I mean, I know every one of you guys has probably gone through this. So hopefully by me talking about this, it helps you in a way, especially if you're like me and you don't have anybody really to talk to. I mean, sure, you probably have friends. I have friends. I have a buddy that stops by here and we do the podcast together. But, I mean, I can't call him. I could. Look, I don't want to say. I want to clear that up, too. I'm sure he probably is listening to this and he's going, what kind of a shitty friend am I that he feels that way? But it also falls on me, too. And what I mean by that is, I understand everybody has their own life and their own personal bouts and battles that they need to go through. So, I don't necessarily want to call and dump my shit on, and I'm talking about now him specifically, because he has his own things that he's worried about and things that he's trying to accomplish, and I don't want to derail him from what he's trying to do. I appreciate the fact that he has been here to help me with the podcast to get this thing off the ground, to do some YouTube videos together, and we do have a really fun time doing it. It's great. But, you know, I just think, like, it's almost not fair. It's almost not fair for me to call him. Like, I'll be honest with you, when my grandmother passed for the 100th time that I'm bringing it up, sorry, dude.
But I don't want that. And you don't want that.
Well, I know, but I have to put it in context. I called him, told him about the whole story of what had happened, and he was like, holy shit. And he was busy. I know he was busy. And he had shit to do, but he took a second, and he just listened to me vent for a minute or two. And then he threw some of his shit in the ring, and we had a little bit of a back and forth. But I feel like if I were to call him now, like, I haven't heard from him in a short period of time. He was here last week. I haven't heard from him now, and I'm not gonna call him to talk to him about this. I was debating on whether or not I hold this subject until the next time he comes here. But again, I don't know. I think maybe it would be better for me to just do it like this, and then when he comes here again, we bring it back to where I was in episode 1 or 2 or 5, in a sense of like just a fun time and a great place to be. You know, when you can just sit and listen to a couple of idiots make fun of one another. That's an important part. And plus, when the subject came up the last time, I kind of feel like maybe he felt like he didn't want to bum everybody out. Or maybe he didn't want to bum himself out. So he doesn't want to think about these bad things. Which I understand. I completely understand. Okay, that's a separate conversation somebody's having on Facebook that they tagged me in. He doesn't want to think about shit like that. And who can blame him? I can't. Nobody wants to think bad shit. But it happens. And it's gonna happen again. You know, maybe you're happy right now. And there's a good chance maybe later today, maybe sometime next week, something will catch you off guard, or you may wake up feeling a certain kind of a way. And, you know, I don't think that means that happiness is worthless. If anything, even though it doesn't feel like that in the moment, it makes it more valuable when it comes back the next time. Because you realize that, well, you can't have it all of the time. When it does happen naturally, like it happens on the podcast, when we're joking around and we're having fun, like somebody had commented on the episode 5 when I posted on YouTube that, you know, there's something that you just can't fake. The back and forth, the banter that we have between us, you can't fake that. I mean, I'm sure people can if they try, but I believe that, you know, you could see through that. Like, if I came on here, and what I'm trying to say is if I came on here and tried to pretend like I was alright, you would know there was something going on. And then I'm not addressing it, and then it just seems weird. You know, it's like you go over to your friend's house and he's fucking, or she is just not her normal self or his normal self, but you see something is happening, but you don't want to bring it up because if they don't want to talk about it, then it becomes awkward, right? Why am I whispering? I don't know. Just felt right in the moment, like we're sharing secrets. We're sharing secrets. You know, they go, yeah, no, nothing's wrong. Completely okay. You go, oh, alright. In the back of your mind, you're going, I know that's not true. But if you don't want to talk about it, nothing I could do about it, dude. But I'll be here when you're ready.
You're a smart motherfucker, that's right.
That wasn't appropriate for that moment. Just wanted to throw something out there. This is what it is, and I think this episode, as sad as it may be for some people, maybe this is an uplifting thing for you. You see, like, okay, I'm not the only one that has had those thoughts or is feeling that way at the moment. Now I feel a little bit better. Like, when I listen to Joey's podcast and he brought up Ralphie passing, the stages of grief and all of that stuff, I don't know why, but I felt like a weight was lifted up off of my shoulders when I heard him say that. Almost like, oh shit. Okay, so, everything is alright. It's normal to do these things or feel that way. And if he feels that way at 50 something years old and he's successful in his own lane and all of that shit, then, maybe life is not that different for all of us, no matter what stage of it you are currently in. If you're rich or you're on your way to being successful or you're like me and you're just scraping by, it doesn't change the fact that these are regular things that are going to happen. So I think what I'm trying to say is I think this episode will make the other ones that much better. The ones in the past and the ones in the future will make those good moments that much better, because it almost raises the value to them, right? Because the up and down is there, and that's important. Because see, like, my friend is almost like the thing that balances this podcast out, in a sense that obviously you guys know if you've listened to any of the episodes. I do tend to, if anything, I'm probably the one that kind of brings it off of the rails a little bit, and he's got to try to balance it out and hold it all together. When I'm by myself doing something like this, half of me goes, well, this is not the right thing to do, and the other half goes, well, no, this is necessary. You need to do this, and I think even he would agree with that. I'll have to ask him after this drops, whenever that's going to be, depending on if he happens to call me at some point this week and tells me he wants to do a podcast. I don't know, I do feel better now, though. I feel like I've talked through the sadness a little bit. And when I mean talk through it, I'm not saying that I pushed it down. Addressing it has made me feel a little bit better. Now I don't feel so heavy. It's a great thing. I hope that this is helpful to you as it is for me. And we will get back to, joking and laughing and shit like that soon enough. But this is important. And maybe I'm trying to justify it to myself. But I think it would be disingenuous. Is that even a fucking word? I don't know. Would I say disingenuous? Maybe that is the right word. It wouldn't be right if I tried to be like, oh yeah, nothing's going on, everything's fine, laughing and joking all the time, and in the back of my mind, the virus that is the depression is just slowly eating away at my thoughts, where there's two different people arguing, and you almost become like a Jekyll and Hyde. In the sense that, like, hey, it's like, yo, are you gonna address this back here, or are we just gonna have to work our way from the nosebleeds all the way to the front row until you're forced to see this for what it is and address it? Because we don't like to be ignored. And that's the depression, that's the bad thoughts. It's important that you at least acknowledge it. I'm not saying live with it and let it weigh you down every second of the day. By no means do I mean that. But it's important that you look at it And you go, okay, listen, I understand that you're there, but I'm not gonna let you can have your moment, but I'm not gonna let you take over completely. I'm not gonna do it. You're not gonna fucking put me in that position.
I'm in the dark!
It's not gonna happen. And it's so easy. It's so easy to drift into that. To drift into that feeling. And just go. You know, Patton Oswalt has a joke where he talks about depression. And forgive me if I'm butchering it. It's a joke about how depression is like a bathrobe. You sit with your thoughts and you just sink into them like a comfortable chair. You just sink into them and go, ah, there it is. I feel relaxed now that I just let it take me over. Don't let it eat you alive. You acknowledge that it's there, give it its moment, but after that, I'm not even saying dismiss it. It's okay for it to be there when it needs to be. But just make sure that you let it understand. I'm talking about it like it's a fucking person or a child. But in this sense, I think it kind of is in a way. The way that it holds your attention like nothing else, right? The only other thing that I can consider even being close to what sadness does is anger more than anything. Because while happiness is a wonderful emotion, I don't think it holds the weight that sadness and anger hold. Both of those things have the ability to put a stranglehold on you and completely make everything that you're doing toxic in a way that even happiness can't do, because happiness is a fleeting moment. But that's why you think about it, work through your thoughts. You know, you don't do what I'm doing. If you feel you should reach out and speak to somebody, definitely do that. I mean, essentially that's what I'm doing right now. While I sit and say I can't call anybody, I'm talking to you, talking to all of you, whoever is out there in internet land right now who comes across this. And I don't mean to even say, I feel like I need to make this known. I don't mean to say like I have nobody to call, that I want a bunch of phone calls from people who go, oh, are you alright? Are you? No, I don't. Look, it needs to happen naturally. You know, if you come across some shit or if it comes up in conversation, that's one thing. But don't hear me talk about it and then try to call me and act like you had the thought all by yourself. If you didn't, and when I say you, I mean the general you, the metaphorical you, not anybody specific. It's because people could tell, I could tell. I don't know about you, and I think a lot of people can. I think there's a good chance that we're probably not too different from one another. Like if somebody calls you and, you know, they know that you're going through some shit and they really don't care, but they try to pretend like they give a shit, that's even worse than not calling at all. It's like forgetting a birthday. Like, dude, I would much rather you call me 3 months after my birthday and go, hey, I just realized your birthday was 3 months ago. Happy birthday. Instead of trying to pretend like, oh yeah, I knew when it was the whole time. You know, I was just busy. That's why I didn't call. No, dude, I could tell. I could tell that's not what happened. And it's okay. But I mean, then again, are people more comfortable living in the lie than they are in the truth? That's a good question. That's a really good question. Because I think that's where a lot of this shit comes from, right? And when I say living in the dark, what I mean is, or not living in the dark, living with the lie, is you'd rather be lied to and have somebody fake concern or pretend they remember your birthday or whatever it is. Is it more comfortable for some people? I'm sure it probably is. I'm just not one of those people, because in the end that's going to eat away at me more than if things just occurred naturally the way that they're supposed to. I went completely off of the rails. I don't even think we didn't even make it to the fucking station, dude. Essentially walked out of my fucking door, tried to put it together. I don't have a clean metaphor for what I'm trying to say. Is that even the right word? I don't know. Who cares, right? It just happened. That's where it is.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
That was a fail, I think. Pretty sure it's safe to say that was a fail. I don't know, I hope this helps. And it's not just a complete drag you down moment, but this is in the spirit of transparency and full disclosure. And I wouldn't be doing you any favors or me any favors if I sat here and tried to pretend like nothing was going on. I had something on my mind, I brought it up. And now because I've done that, hopefully that means I will be able to go about the rest of my day and not harp on it. Because the racing thoughts are there and they tend to circle. They circle around and they don't go anywhere unless they're addressed. So if you're going through some shit for the 100th time that I've said it, if you're going, everybody has been where you are. Even if the people around you want to pretend like they don't know what's up, they know what's up. Maybe they're just not comfortable with talking about it. For whatever reason. I'm sure everybody has perfectly good reasons. Don't let that be your main focus. Have your thoughts. Try not to run away from them. It's easy to get home after hanging with everybody, and when you feel those demons start to creep up, it's easy to have the shots or whatever it is that you do to forget. But it's going to make itself front and center eventually, and it's better off that you understand that and catch the grip on it. Don't let it grip you. And I know it's extremely difficult because right now it's not gripping me. Later on today, maybe next week, there's a good chance it will grab me. It will try to force me to be shitty, and I don't always run away from that just because I need to be able to sort it out and get to the root of whatever it is that is making me feel this way. And sometimes you can't put your finger on the pulse of what it is that is bothering you. Maybe somebody said something to you a while ago and it's finally caught up, or you're reliving that situation in your head the 100th time where you said something stupid in an argument, or you didn't do something the way that you wanted to do it, and now you're harping on that. Just the chance should come back around again, and it may not look the same as it did when you had your original shot, but you'll be able to make up for it. I believe that. You understand what I'm trying to say. Now I am feeling like I'm not making any damn sense on the metaphorical paper that is this podcast. I feel like this is a good thing to do. This is what it is, man. It's too often that people are trying to pretend like they're not people, like they don't have regular emotions like everybody else does. When somebody has a fucking meltdown, 9 times out of 10, it's probably because they just kept pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off, and try to act like nothing is ever happening. Shit is going to happen. It's going to put a fucking kink in your plans. We gotta work around it. So, I mean, I want to say appreciate everybody that has supported the podcast so far. If you feel depressed, speak to somebody. Even if you don't want to, you can do what I do, which is sometimes I will take a notebook out and I will write down whatever thoughts keep popping back up in my head. Get it out of my head for the moment. So even if you don't feel comfortable speaking with somebody about it, maybe that will help you. Maybe you have everything all figured out and you don't need me to tell you obvious shit that you already know, but it's just in case. It could happen to anybody, completely catch you off guard. This will be the 7th episode if one doesn't get recorded with my buddy before then. This will be out. The podcast lives on YouTube for the audio, iTunes, Spotify, Radio Public. Okay, so right now on SoundCloud we have description is not my strong suit. Tempted to recap the Russian doll, bodyguard, abducted in plain sight, and Border Town. And in the one before that, me and my buddy just had a good time recording an episode. So check that out. YouTube videos are up. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack01Trade. A link should be on the side of the SoundCloud or in the description to the YouTube channel. It's always in the description of the videos. You can follow me on Instagram. There's artwork on my Instagram page if you want to check that out. And I think that's it.
Cool story, bro.
Thanks for giving me an ear. Sometimes it's best just to talk that shit out. Hit the music, dude. This is exactly why I do the Irish goodbye at the party, which means that I just disappear before anybody realizes what's going on. I'm already out and halfway home, which is exactly what I'm about to do right now.